Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which they're just disappearing with a magic wand, as if it doesn't exist, even though it could not be clearer what it's stating. And so, they want to kick it to Congress, so it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025, to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody in Civil War conditions, all because the 9 justices, not all of them, but these justices who have not many cases to look at every year, not that much work to do, a huge staff, great protection, simply do not want to do their job.
Hi, I'm Nat.
And I'm Guy. Today we're going to talk about Jamie Raskin. Who's Jamie Raskin, you ask?
Well, he's a Democrat congressman from Maryland who's come out with some weird predictions and allegations about what's going to happen if, God forbid, Donald Trump wins.
Well, it sounds like the Democrats want to make their own January 6th insurrection, but they want to do it right this time.
Well, yes. I mean, right now, Kamala Harris, it's not looking good for her, and especially now that she's chosen Tim Walz to be her VP, which, I mean, we know why she's doing it. It's to attract and get all of the white rural base that J.D. Vance, as Trump's VP pick, will get. But even with that, I mean, he's not a very strong one, and neither is she.
He's not very well known in the Midwest. Nobody really is except for J.D. Vance, and the reason J.D. Vance was able to break through was because of Hillbilly Eulogy. Elegy. He's basically a folk hero within the Midwest, and he is the American ideal story for somebody.
Yeah, because he knows how to tell their story, and nobody ever is. Like, I mean, all of these, especially with the Democrat Party, these are all like groomed and prepped and primed people that never had real life experiences. Their whole careers are based off of, chasing their political dreams. That's what they study, that's what they want to do, and they've never really worked a real job in their lives, most of them at least.
Let's get back to Jamie Raskin here. What exactly did he say?
Well, he was saying that if on January 6th it is necessary, so when the transfer of power happens, if on that date it is necessary to have a show of force, well, I mean, they should go out and do it.
Well, let's say it more clearly. He said when the Democrats lose on January 6th that they need to have an insurrection, and they need to tell the Trump voters that Trump's not allowed to be president because of under Section 3, Article 14th of the Constitution, any politician that's been involved in an insurrection isn't available to take political office.
Yeah, isn't allowed.
Now, in order to do that, he's basically going to have to offer up an alternate slate of electors, which was Trump's plan last time. But when Trump did it, it was actually fringe legal theory that was legal. After Trump was going to try that, they made it clearly illegal. So if the Democrats try to do it this time, it's going to be a clear insurrection.
Well, it sounds like he is mostly talking out of his behind. But as our friend, not real friend, but Robert Barnes says, this is all confession through projection. They're saying this is what he did, but now this is what we're going to do. This is what we have to do to save democracy.
Save democracy.
While, I mean, the Democrat Party is the only party that does not have a truly elected candidate. Kamala Harris was imposed there, as was Hillary Clinton, there's a long storyline of them basically just installing who the candidate will be as for the president. And it's starting to look like other countries where a lot of these political appointees are appointed.
Well, the scary thing about what Raskin was saying is he said we're going to tell these Trump voters that Trump's not allowed to be president, and we're going to make sure we have military security to protect everybody that's needed because there's going to be a civil war, basically. And this isn't the first time Raskin's talked about civil war. This seems like a constant subject that's coming up with him. I think he's come to the conclusion Democrats are going to lose, but rather than seceding power, they're going to hold on to power by any means necessary.
As basically happened 4 years ago. I mean, they did do everything they could, maybe not to fully obstruct Donald Trump from getting in there. 6 years ago. Not to fully obstruct Donald Trump from continuing to be president, but I mean, they put all of these, they've charged him with a bunch of things, and they've done everything they can to make his life essentially impossible, to make him ascending to power again even harder. He was impeached twice, didn't find anything, and now he's had all of these
We still have
different
January. We
judgments
still
that
have
haven't
we
fully
still have
gone through.
January 6 people that are still
Yeah.
in jail that haven't faced trial.
Yes.
This is absolutely ridiculous. What's going on there? The footage has been released.
Mm-hmm.
People that were nonviolent were basically ushered in by police are still being held. Now it's understandable if somebody violently broke a window or assaulted a police officer. Some people were violent. It's fine to bring them to trial, but nobody's actually been brought up on charges of insurrection. So.
Exactly. Most of the charges that they're having are for completely different innocuous things, but it's not what the mainstream media says. They just say that the January 6th insurrection people are getting charged or have been charged.
It wasn't an
Most of them don't
insurrection.
even talk about it. I know, it wasn't an
It was a
insurrection.
riot, not an insurrection.
Yes.
But if you listen to Destiny or any crazy left-wing commentator, they're going to tell you it was an insurrection, and people don't have to be charged with insurrection for it to be an insurrection. Let me tell you this: it was a riot, and the fact that it was a riot aligns with all the Black Lives Matter protests that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was brought up on insurrection charges when they burned down courthouses or they raided police stations or made a Chaz chop zone.
Yeah.
It was a riot. Everybody knows it was a riot, and you have to have the same rule of law for the Trump supporters. It was a riot.
Yes, and I mean, with all of this talk of civil war from Jamie Raskin, he might be watching Tim Pool, but I do think that both of them might be onto something, but maybe not in the way we're thinking, where people are literally going to rise up. But if Donald Trump, and even if Kamala Harris wins, God forbid, there will be way more issues happening in the United States. There will be more division than there already is.
Well, I don't
there might be Democrat states that say, we don't agree with Donald Trump being installed as president because he's not the real president. And then they might start talking about, moving away or not listening to orders that Trump is giving or to executive mandates or orders that go through his office, especially, for example, with the border.
Well,
California might decide
There's
that they don't care.
been a lot of talk about not just California, but California, Oregon, and Washington, which is the entire west coast of the United States, succeeding if Trump wins the election. And there is a time period between November when Trump would win and January when he actually takes over for them to make plans to succeed. I don't think that's likely to happen, but there's talk of that. Also, there's plenty of time to set traps right now for Trump, and I'm talking economic traps. I think they're going to try to make the U.S. economy fall down on Trump's head.
And I mean, if the whole West Coast secedes and they become, for example, Canadian, then they will join the hellhole that we're from, which is Vancouver. And I mean, they're basically there. They just have to live under the U.S.'s general federal rule, but they want to be
I think
Canada.
I think if they succeed, they're not going to secede and join Canada. They're more likely to maybe not openly, but not openly join China. And why do I say this? Because Gavin Newsom invited Xi Jinping
Yes,
to
he did.
California, clean the streets up overnight. There was no
Clean the
homeless
streets of people, yeah.
and crime, and everything looked spectacular. And
Mm-hmm.
then when Xi Jinping left, well, let's go back to crime-ridden streets of California.
But I mean, they might join China, but isn't Canada also basically already joined China? It's China. We know because we're from there.
Well, at least I don't know. Maybe you got me because Pierre Poilievre is going to be taking over Canada, and I think that's going to be a big transition away from China. The problem with that is Trudeau's trying to make these illegal coalitions to, even if he loses the election, he's going to stay in power like some kind of dictator.
Yeah, by joining power with every single other party. I mean, Canada has a lot of parties, so that doesn't work that well
they're
either.
going to try to do it like they did France.
True. And I mean, in general, I do think that at least the north of America, and I mean probably the south, it's going through very turbulent times. And it really depends on who's going to be sitting in the middle in that United States, essentially the most powerful country in the world, who's going to be the leader of that country to decide what happens to everybody else and where everybody else goes. So if Trump does get in, which is still a maybe, I mean, a lot of things can happen. A lot of things happened 4 years ago that, I mean, can't really openly discuss what actually happened, but there may be a possibility he doesn't get in. And I think people are being way too confident, and we have to quell that confidence to actually vote and make him win and have proof that he actually won, which is what was lacking last time.
I think this time he's getting in on the votes, and there's no way they can actually spin it. they got Kamala Harris and they're going to lie her poll numbers up, which are just, when the votes come in, there's no way for them to rightfully steal it from Trump. So I think they're going to have to do something like have an alternate slate of electors. They're going to have to do absolutely something crazy that's going to be completely transparent to the public, and that could spark a civil war. So I don't think Jamie Raskin might not be that far off.
No, he might be just giving marching orders, especially because, I mean, obviously, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are throwaway candidates. So I think they will be trying to throw them away, but at the same time, they might use this as another way to make Trump's life even more impossible when he does become president.
Well, this is going to be absolutely crazy if they do outwardly steal the election from Trump and do an alternate slate of electors. That would mean Kamala Harris, the most far left crazy person from California. Anyway, politician, one of the most far left politicians will be controlling the United States. If Trudeau usurps power in Canada by having a coalition of parties, he's the most far left politician in Canada.
Yes.
And then you have Sheinbaum, which there was all kinds of issues with that election with people being assassinated.
Yes, Claudia Sheinbaum, I mean, she's basically being installed just as Kamala Harris is being. Why do we have to install these women? Because nobody wants to vote for them.
You're going to have the largest and the most far left coalition in probably the planet's history if these three politicians are allowed to steal these elections. It's going to be absolutely insane. Now, if Trump's able to take power and Poilievre's able to take power, which this is what the polls are saying, then you have Sheinbaum there to kind of even it out. I don't mind a little bit of shared power, but I don't want to see a left-dominated coalition, especially if they have to steal elections in order to have that power.
Yeah, and I mean, in some miracle, we're not saying not, but Kamala Harris could win somehow without stealing anything, just saying it for the YouTube censors, but probably not. Nobody likes her. She's not doing well.
Okay, well.
But YouTube, we're not saying anything. I guess for now, thank you for watching. Remember to like, subscribe. We hate to ask, but it helps out. We're just starting out again, so we really appreciate you watching if you watch till the end. And I guess for now, that's it. See you soon.
If you're watching Jamie Raskin, don't forget to hit subscribe.
Yes.
Adios.